Huh? Oh, God. Yeah, 2 minutes.
You say 2 minutes? All right.
1 minute.
Hey, y'all. Kia. Hi, mamas. All right, you gonna do the promo? I need some new promos, you think?
Huh?
I said I need some new promos, you think? Hey, Lloyd. Lloyd, I want to thank you for always supporting me. You know that? We should have probably did that.
Loving, genuine, and generous. It's your BFF Christina Harris.
But I got how much
Fridays
longer?
from 6:45 to 8 p.m. on Spiritual Connect Radio. If you need
We're about to start soon, so thanks for logging in, everybody.
Or at bffhost@gmail.com. Spiritual Connect Radio. Connect to music, talk, news, and topics that inspire.
Hey, everybody. It's your BFF, Christina Harris, here on Business, Faith, and Family. You're tuned in to Spiritual Connect Radio. I want to thank you for logging in. If you're watching via Facebook Live, if you're listening to Spiritual Connect Radio through the app, whether you're driving, it is Friday. It's nice outside. We're stationed here pretty much in Philly, so the weather is great. And I have here with me the best engineer in the whole tri-state area, Chris Nelson. Want to say hi?
How you doing, everybody?
Chris is a man of multiple talents. I tell you, he's singer, all right? Songwriter, actor, everything. Producer, business owner, pianist. Look, the Lord kind of gave you too many gifts. I think you need to swap out. Hey, Rashida, how are you, beautiful? So we are, again, you're tuned into the BFF Show. I'm your host, Christina Harris. And tonight we're going to talk about a subject, a topic. Hey, Pastor, how are you? We're going to talk about a topic that is relevant. I think it's very necessary to talk about. You know, I try not to be one that stray away from talking about difficult topics for the sake of church or whatever. I try to keep it real with you guys. I'm your BFF. And tonight we're basically talking about relationships, bad relationships. And I question, like, are relationships the new stronghold? You know, and because I've come across more people than a little bit that either had just got out of a really bad relationship, bad marriage, or haven't gotten into one because they're, you know, broken or damaged from the previous one. And it just seems like it's a continuous cycle people are stuck in when it comes down to relationships. Now, by no means am I just talking about platonic relationships. I'm talking about mother and daughter. Hey, Sabrina, mother and daughter, father and son, you know, best friends, sibling relationships. It seems like, you know, bad relationships are really starting to become detrimental to our persons, you know. I want to give a shout out to Rita, you know, a good Facebook friend of mine's. I appreciate our conversation this week. And, you know, I look forward to doing some things with you, to be honest. But I say all that to say, we're going to talk about the lady with the issue of blood. Now, ladies, if you're listening, it's so important for you to, I want you to get this deep down into your spirit. And this isn't just for ladies, because, you know, men as well. Somewhere, somehow, we are like just stuck. You know, we stuck. We keep getting into these bad relationships. Now, we get into bad relationships, and I don't want to say with bad people, but, you know, the reality is the person can be good, but they could come with baggage. They could come with bad habits, bad communication styles, and things like that. So I'm going to break down a few things so we can get some clarity on the topic. So again, are relationships the new stronghold? And I want you to look at your own life. I want you to evaluate your own relationships with the people who are close to you, whether it's your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your best friend, your mother, your father. I want you to look at your relationship. You can't always handle how people are going to act or, their behavior in a relationship because it's reciprocity. So, but you can always control your action and or reaction to what people say or do. So, what is a stronghold? I'm going to read this to you. It says a stronghold is an area of darkness within our mind or personality that causes ongoing spiritual, emotional, and or behavioral problems. We can be genuinely born again and sincere in our faith, but have an ongoing struggle with thoughts, emotions, and habits that wage war against our relationship with Christ and or people. We pray, we study, and we attempt to be disciples in Christ, but oftentimes we find our problems is resistant to change. I love the Apostle Paul. He says, I end up doing the very thing I said I wasn't going to do. And the thing I said I was going to do, I don't do it. So how many of you guys, we can all relate to that? We make goals for ourselves. I know mine's is eating. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay away from this kinds of food. And the very thing that I purposed in my spirit not to eat, I end up eating it, So that's a stronghold. That's the definition of a stronghold. But I want to say something. Sometimes I counsel people and they had a rough upbringing, I'll say. Their moms may have been on drugs, and or crack or something like that. And I want to bring some clarity to this topic, because too often we're so quick to judge the people, our moms, our aunts, our uncles who was affected in that area when crack and cocaine hit these urban areas, you know what I mean? And we blame them for something that they kind of for real had no control over, in a sense, you know what I mean? It was something. I always said that crack was the first drug that took the woman out of the house. And as a result of that, we lost a lot of our mothers to that substance abuse. We lost a lot of our aunts and things like that. And it took them a long time. And some people still struggle with it to get off of that. So some of the strongholds that are popular today is alcoholism, drugs. Like I said, back then it was the crack era. But see, us in our 20s or 30s, sometimes you who are in your 40s, don't be fooled. We have our own generational strongholds. Perks, marijuana, meth. Those are our generational strongholds, So we can't be so quick to judge those who suffered 20 years ago when crack hit hit our communities pretty hard and wiped out a lot of our moms and, our aunts and things like that, Prescription drugs even. Hey, Siobhan. Prescription drugs are even a stronghold. Let me reel it in a little bit more, because see, for those who are a little bit judgmental and they say, all right, I don't do drugs and I don't drink. Well, the casino, that could be a stronghold. Them lottery tickets that we spend a lot of money on, knowing we should be being a good steward over what the Lord give us. We do the lottery tickets. That's a stronghold too. Pretty much a stronghold is anything that you can't control. You feed it, it will grow. You feed it, it will consume you. Feel free, as you guys are watching through Facebook Live, to name a few strongholds that you may suffer with or that you have, observed and seen that get a lot of people out of fellowship, out of their goal and pursuit of being the best person that they can be. Sexual immorality. When you watch porn and you can't, it has a stronghold over you, you watch it every day, multiple times a day, When you masturbate, you do it 100 times a day, however many times. That's a stronghold. Yes, you may feel uncomfortable with me saying that, but that's the reality. You know what I mean? Selfishness is a stronghold. Anytime you're one of those people who only consider yourself, your outcome, how something will always and only benefit you, selfishness could be a stronghold for you as well. Food could be a stronghold. Now, listen, my hand is raised all the way up for that one. Hey, Erica. Food could be a stronghold. Because like I said, listen, food is good. It looks pretty. And it's different. You know, back then, I remember when we were young, right, Chris? Remember we were young and we ate because we had to. Mm-hmm. You know, now we don't miss a meal, all right? We don't miss a meal.
I know. I love you.
Yes. So as we're just talking about the topic of our relationships, the new stronghold, and what is a stronghold? Anything that pretty much, you know, have you in captivity, you know? And I want to talk about codependency. A lot of us, we get into relationships because we just need to have somebody. We need to have a warm body. And I used to be guilty of this. We used to, you may want somebody to just talk to. You know, you may want someone out of fearfulness of being alone, you know. At the end of the day, you cannot be healed of some of the things that you struggle with if you hide them and act like they don't exist. They will always rule over you and control you. The best thing you can do is set some personal goals to change. I understand change is difficult, but I believe that if you partner with God, you know, He has the authority and the power to help you. You're not alone in this battle, in this life. So I want to read this definition to you, what codependency is. It says, it is an emotional and behavioral condition that affects an individual's ability to have a healthy, mutually satisfying relationship. It is also known as relationship addiction because people with codependencies often form or maintain relationships that are one-sided, either emotionally destructive and or abusive. Codependent behavior is learned by watching and imitating others, family members who display this type of behavior, or it could be a generational curse. How many times have you gotten into a relationship and you stayed way too long? How many times you've gotten into a relationship and you ignored all the red flags, but you were just happy to have somebody texting you, have somebody calling you? How many times have you dated the same type of guy, same type of woman? She probably looks just like the other one. You know, you like them tall, long legs, whatever your type is. That's a cycle. That's a stronghold over you. So it's important for you to don't be oblivious about the things that you need to change within, because the only person who gets shortchanged at the end is yourself. You're going to get tired. You're going to get tired of having the same results. Listen, her name might be different. She might do some different things, or his name may be different, you know. But at the end of the day, if your results are still the same, something has to change. And most times I tell people, we spend so much time trying to find that special one. Instead, we should be spending that time to become that special one. When you start to invest in yourself, that makes your stock goes up so much more higher. So when you start to invest in yourself, you won't even be attracted to who you were. So therefore, the type of person you used to attract. You know, broken people attract broken people. And let me tell you something, women. We can't fix a man. Please. I'm trying to tell you this from experience. I understand we have that whole alpha female thing going on. Yeah, we make money. Yeah, we bosses. You know, all that stuff that really don't mean anything, to be honest. Because when you get a good man, you'll learn how to submit under and be comfortable with who he is. So I say all that to say, you have to allow some time to grow and mature. But if you keep giving out, it's like when I used to work at Jefferson, right? I couldn't wait and accumulate days, like, so I could take a day off, 6-day person. I would use them by the hour, all right? If I got my check and it said you had 3 hours, I'm like, let me use my 3 hours. So in other words, it's kind of like that. You don't wait. Therefore, allow yourself to accumulate character, accumulate, worth, security. Sometimes we mask our insecurities behind how much money we make and things like that, what we wearing. Some people go extreme and they'll spend hundreds of dollars on changing things that they're not secure with, or thousands of dollars, I meant, to be honest. So as we're talking about relationships are the new stronghold, the Lord gave me this verse for myself, so I'm going to share it with you guys, because the Word of God says that it's a double-edged sword. When I had read Luke 8, it talks about the lady with the issue of blood. And the Lord have given me so much revelation about this. I'm so grateful, so I want to share this with you guys. So I'm going to read it. We're in Luke chapter 8. We're going to start at verse, 42. It says, as Jesus went with him, he was surrounded by the crowds. A woman in the crowd has suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding, and she found no cure. There was another translation who said she spent all her resources trying to find a cure. It says, coming up behind Jesus, she touched the fringe of his robe. Immediately, the bleeding stopped. Who touched me? Jesus asked. Everyone denied it, and Peter said, Master, this whole crowd is pressing against you. When the woman realized that she could not stay hidden, she began to tremble and fell to her knees in front of him. The whole crowd heard her explain why she had touched him and that she had been immediately healed. Daughter, he said to her, your faith has made you whole. Go in peace. When I read this, I'm going to break this down to you guys. It says she suffered for 12 years. 12 years with the issue of blood. All right, so if you're suffering for 12 years with the issue of blood, it says she exhausted all her resources, meaning she never gave up the pursuit of changing what was broken in her. The reason that I felt like this was kind of relatable to me is because maybe I did not have a physical hemorrhage, but I was still pouring out. I was pouring out into bad relationships. I was pouring out into bad friendships. And us as women, sometimes we persevere and endure too much, okay? We persevere and endure too much. So sometimes you could be pouring out and exhausting yourself trying to fix something that's broken inside of you. I want to explain the difference between being healed and being whole. See, all throughout the Bible, Jesus healed plenty of people. People, even as I love, sometimes when I read my Bible, I get a little animated. So we got Jesus here. He's in the crowd. And, it's jam-packed. Everybody is, pressing up against him. Everybody want to see and, touch Jesus. Everybody want to just see what's the fuss about. Like, wow, this man is really performing miracles. And he's on his way to Jairus' house. Jairus' daughter was very sick. Hey, Miss Denise, how are you? So, make a long story short, this lady who exhausted all herself, all right? And sometimes God will allow you to exhaust yourself so that when you're finally finished trying to fix it in your own strength, and then he'll be in a position where you can touch the hedge of his garment. And I can relate to that because I'm late in my purpose. I've been what's supposed to be operating in my purpose, but I was too busy trying to fix things in my own life that I knew only God can fix. So Jesus is walking. He's trying to get to Jairus' house. And this lady, it says she purposed in her heart, only if I could touch the hedge of his garment, I will be whole. So that amount of faith, that's a lot of faith. And sure enough, not only did she become whole, I got to break this down for you guys, because she became whole a few different ways. Yes, when she touched the hedge of his garment, she became whole, right? But then here it says, she had to turn around to the crowd, because here Jesus like, who touched me? I felt power come upside of me. And you know Peter, he already was a little ratchet. So he like, Master, what you talking about? There's all these people here. Of course, why would you say somebody touched you? So he said, no, this is different. I felt healing power come up out of me. So he turns around and everybody's probably looking at him like, what are you talking about? All these people here. So then finally, here's her second healing. She had to come before the crowd and explain why she touched the hedge of his garment. See, the Bible says when you confess, there is healing in confession. Let me read this to you. It says, she began to tremble and fell to her knees. When you fall to your knees, that's a sign of surrenderance. She fell to her knees in front of him. The whole crowd heard her explain why she had touched him and that she had been immediately healed. So this lady had to go tell her business in front of all these people. She had to tell how she been trying to find somebody for 12 years to do what it only took 1 second for him to do. She had to tell how she was hemorrhaging. She had to be put on blast. She had to probably feel a little humiliated and a little shame. Even rejection. Remember, back in those days in the Jewish custom, if a woman was hemorrhaging, she was pretty much like exiled from the community. Men wouldn't even go near her. And so it was not custom for Jesus to even be talking to her, especially while she was, hemorrhaging. So here she is in full confession mode in front of people who's going to judge her. They probably was like, listen, you holding us up. We trying to get, and here she had to confess. And that was her second healing. And this right here, bless my spirit. Because as she's pouring out her heart in front of the crowd, that's when her second healing had started. We have a call. Go ahead.
The door. Yeah, I had to get my stuff when the door's locked.
Oh.
They're outside.
You can turn it on. So this is when her second healing took place. All right? That confession piece. He says, daughter, he said to her, your faith has made you whole. See, he didn't say your faith has made you healed. He said your faith have made you whole. And that is where I'm at currently. Healing will always be necessary as long as we're down here on this earth. We're going to need to be healed from our bodies, from our financial situations. We're going to need healing in our marriages and our relationships. We're going to need healing in our relationships with our children when they start being wayward and disobedient. And we're going to need healing in our finances, if I haven't already said that. Healing will always be prevalent and necessary. And it's always going to be consistent. And this is the funny thing about healing. All these people came to Jesus to be healed. All of them. The blind, the lame, those who had leprosy. She was bleeding for 12 years. All of them had some type of affliction. But this is the first person he said, now you have been made whole. See, to be made whole, that's something totally different. To be made whole is meaning you're not perfect, but you're in a position in your life where you have the peace that surpasses all understanding because you are in right standing with God. Again, you're not perfect, but you know him as your Lord. You know him as your Savior. You know he provides for you. So you have the peace that surpasses all understanding, even when you don't understand when the next check is coming, even when you don't understand how if your house is going to get foreclosed on, if you're going to have a job, what's going to happen to your children, what's going to happen to your son who's in prison, the sentencing hasn't come up yet. you have that peace that surpasses all human understanding. That's part of that wholeness. Part of that wholeness too is you know you are conditionally loved. Unconditionally loved. You know that no matter what you do, God has reached his maximum capacity for loving you. That's a lot of love, all right? God can't love you anymore. He loves you at the maximum capacity. And when I talk about this, it's like, yo, we're talking about God. The God who created all of this. The God who has powers. Almighty God, sovereign God, is at full capacity of loving you, forgiving you. When you know you're forgiven, you may mess up here and there. We all do. But when you know deep down inside in your spirit that you're forgiven and there's nothing that can separate you from the love of Christ, it says no depthness, no height, no darkness, nothing can separate you from the love of Christ. That's part of that being whole. So I'm going to tell you, the only reason that she became whole is because now it was all about the fellowship. When Jesus said daughter, he turned around. He didn't say miss, lady, woman. He said daughter. See, that's that connection. That's the relationship. That's the part that God desires from us. I said last week, the best thing that God did for us was to allow us to not only just know him, but to become heirs. We are his children. He allowed us to call him Abba, Father. Father. That's personal. So my desire for your life, even if it's not your desire, is that you come to God to be whole. See, healing will always be, you'll always need to be healed from something. Most times we need to be healed from ourselves. All right? Some of the things that we engage in. But when you become whole, that's what God desires. That's when that takes your spirituality. That makes life much more easier, fruitful, joyful, fulfilled down here. See, when you learn not to allow your circumstances to always control you, you know, if you're one of those people that, you know, the devil could slip something in your mail to get you going crazy, you know, phone calls, somebody unliked you or unfriend you, whatever, those little things don't matter. Those little things don't matter at all. So it's so important for you to allow God to begin to do that person work inside of you. A lot of you guys are still walking around broken, in need of God, and you're just, you know, wasting your time, wasting your life, your resources, your health on things that will bear no fruit for you ever. You know, a lot of us, there's a lot of married people who wish they were single. There's a lot of single people who wish they were married. When you make a commitment to yourself to be the best you that you could possibly be while you're still here, that should always be your number one goal. Because the more you allow God to change you, the more you look like Christ. And now that's when God can, you know, elevate you. We have become a society so consumed with self. I want to brand myself. I want to do this to myself. I want to, you know, and at the end of the day, I always tell you, no one can elevate you but God. That's it. No one can elevate you but God. So I want to tell you guys that if you haven't made goals for yourself, you know, I also do life coaching. If you need someone to hold you accountable, if you need someone to kind of go over things where you are, meet you where you are, I have that, you know, option available. Just send me an inbox. I don't mind working with you guys. If I can't, I have some other great people who I network with. Hey, Dominique, how are you? So you have to start somewhere. You can't just accept your broken self. You have to start somewhere. And this lady waited it says she exhausted all of her resources. She was determined to fix this problem. But listen, it took Jesus one split of a second to do for her what she couldn't do, or no other. It says in other translations, it says she went to different doctors and no one could heal her. There were no cure for her hemorrhage. So right now, a lot of you women are operating out of the fact that you had no father to tell you that he loves you. You're operating out of, your insecurities. And, some guy's going to come along and give you sweet nothings in your ear. But see, when you allow God to make you whole, you won't become fooled to that cycle that you've probably been in for a while. Part of life is to be the best self-actualized person that you could be. And I wish that for everybody. As we sit here and we're talking about our relationships, the new stronghold, our bad relationships, I'll say, the new stronghold. And as I said before, it's not just about a woman and a man. It also is father and son relationships are bad. Mother and daughter relationships are bad. And I want to remind you, we're in the year 5777 in the Jewish calendar. And we'll never see those sevens line up again. And I don't want you to get stuck in this cycle. Remember when God had delivered the Israelites out of Egypt? And they was right there. They was about to receive the promises, the promised land. And out of their disobedience, out of them not wanting to listen to what God had to say, they had a 40-year journey. 40-year journey. Listen, this is the year where you get unstuck. This is the year where you break out of that cycle of whatever it is. It could be money. You could be in a cycle where you make money and then next thing you don't know, you broke. You don't know why, or everything always happening to you. Every time you try to save, the enemy just comes and, steal whatever little bit of money you're trying to save, whatever your cycle is. This is the year. This is that supernatural year where you get out of that cycle. Moses, because you don't want to keep going around that same mountain over and over and over again. It's, at some point you have to, yes, Rashida, live and check the check. That's a cycle. We always talk about how Moses, he got angry and he, didn't hear what God said and he struck the rock, hit the rock. And Moses still had issues he didn't deal with. He still had anger issues. And guess what? This is the crazy part. Now listen to this. You don't want to be the person that God used to deliver the next generation and then not be able to be a recipient of the blessing of the promised land. God used Moses to deliver them out of Egypt. He was the leader. But yet, he couldn't go into the promised land because he still has some stuff that he didn't deal with. I don't want that to be you. I don't want that to be you. So whatever stuff you need to deal with, you need to deal with it. Knock it down. Listen, there's times, like I said last week, there's times when I have to pray against certain strongholds. So you got to do whatever you have to do. If you need to find someone who's another believer or someone who's strong in their faith or whatever, and you go to your pastor or someone that you can trust to start working out some of the things that's keeping you in captivity. Sometimes it could be your own thought process, saying you can't do this, you won't do this, you'll never be that kind of person. Sometimes you have to, I love Joyce Meyer's book. She says the battlefield of the mind. So you definitely need to begin to figure out where exactly are you stuck at and get unstuck. I want to go over some, let's see, what's my time? I want to go over some statistics here. It says 6 in 10 people have reportedly stayed in a relationship that they knew no longer was fulfilling in several areas. And I put why. And I wrote here, I says, we are so used to compromising, especially as women. We could be so used to compromising even after he's cheated, even after he disrespected or lied to us, just to avoid loneliness, for monetary reasons, for shelter. Some men, they'll go through a whole bunch of stuff with a woman just to have her as a trophy wife, or a trophy husband. Some people stay in it simply for the desires of their flesh, their, sex, As women, we sometimes will date potential. We can meet a guy and he may not have much going on at all that we see. And we will date him based off potential, which is fine, but it can't be the only reason. You need some more. You can't have the guy who keeps telling you, well, I'm about to do this, I'm going to do this. If somebody meets you, at some point there should be some fruit on their tree, some type of fruit. You can't keep going for the same, stories. Oh, I want to, whatever industry he wants to get in. All right, that's fine. That's your goal. But what have you been doing to arrive at that place? Do you have any mixtapes out? Have you gone to school for whatever it is that your career in? Have you registered at the school at least? Anything. Ladies, you can't just date because of potential. He has the potential to be a good father. How does he act with his previous children? How does he treat his other children's mother? So you need to be asking yourself serious questions like this if you consider dating him. And men, listen, I can't just be hard on the men. Men, this is especially for you guys. It's not okay just to date her because she's bad, because she's pretty. Don't you want more than that as a woman that you are going to be considered dating, that you're wifing? Wouldn't you want more done? This is going to be the same woman who's going to raise your children. This is going to be the same woman who represents you out in those streets. So don't you want more than just the physical? Don't you want someone who's going to raise your daughter to be respectful, a woman with class, put education as a priority? Or you want her to be, teaching her, you want her to be twerking and doing stuff like that in front of your little girl? Like, we're being real. We're talking, right? So you need to pit. The Bible says when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. Well, you can't go wife and side chicks and things like that, And if any woman was willing to be with you in an unethical situation, meaning you were already married, and she still was being with you then, that tells you a lot about her character already. And that's just me being completely honest with you. Hey, Trina, how are you? All right, so I'm going to go over some things. What makes a healthy relationship? A healthy relationship is when two people develop a connection based on mutual respect. Ladies, gentlemen, you cannot allow anyone to disrespect you. I always say, trust you can kind of work back towards, but respect is much different. If a woman loses respect for her man, it's so much harder to get back. So mutual respect is important, and self-respect. You have to respect yourself. I always tell you, ladies, the way he knows how to treat you, how to respect you, is how you treat yourself. If he see you don't care about yourself, why should he? Trust is important. You have to be able to trust the one that you want to build anything with. Trust is important even in business relationships. Your friend, you want to be able to trust that your friend won't go blabbing off your secrets to the next available ear. So trust is important. It's a part of developing healthy relationships. Support, honesty, fairness. Fairness. Yeah, equality. Separate identities. Listen, yes, it's okay for you guys. I know when you first meet, you're all excited and you want to spend every day with each other. But it's so important, too, for him and you to have your own separate identities, And I understand as adults sometimes, like, life hits us. We don't have the time, hobbies and things like that. That's not applicable anymore, Like, you get busy trying to make money to survive, trying to take care of the kids and things like that, And just a side note, if you are a man looking at my video or you're listening to the radio, if you have a child, please take care of your children. Please help. Like, parenting could be very stressful. Financially, emotionally, and yes, as women, yes, we can handle it, but it doesn't make it right all the time to always have to handle it. So feel free to go pick up your children from school and give her a break sometimes. Take them away for a few hours. Even if you sit in McDonald's and they running around in the, wherever. Help out as much as you can. Sometimes you have to let go of any bitterness that may be in a relationship for the sake of co-parenting in a healthy fashion. That child will respect you so much, And women, don't take on everything if you don't have to. Yeah, we know you strong and independent, all those good things. But at the same time, don't take all the responsibility, because a man will get used to you doing it. And then when you finally ask for help, he's going to say, well, you ain't asked for help all these years, So don't take on all the responsibility. A good side, it says, two-sided effective communication. Communication is hard for a lot of people. It used to be very hard for me, because everything was always about my perspective and it had to be right, And so communication could be very difficult. However, y'all both have to listen to each other. If he's talking, you have to shut down so you can hear him. Not get ready to respond and say something. Just hear what he's saying. You don't always have to agree, but just hear him out with a little less attitude, a little less sass, And vice versa. Men, don't be so quick to shut her down. Yeah, she may be nagging, but underneath her approach and her timing, there's something there, And I think if you love her enough, it's worthwhile hearing her out. A lot of women become frustrated simply because she gets shut down by her mate, So it's definitely worthwhile just hearing out. Are you able to express yourself without fear of consequences or judgment or ridicule in a relationship? When you are communicating to whoever it is, even if, I've heard someone recently give their testimony, and they said every time that they, hey, Aunt Sissy, how are you? Every time that they would come to their mate, that person kind of belittled them. Hey, Rita, that is not the way to be in a healthy relationship. That is not a way to be in a healthy relationship. If every time you come to somebody, they try to put you down to elevate themselves or something, Are you able to feel secure and comfortable? Are you safe in that relationship? Are you safe from physical, verbal, emotional, psychological abuse? Listen, at the end of the day, you have the right. You have the right to decide if you want to even give this person your time, your energy, your love, your resources, your tears, your heartache. You have the right to decide that. Don't ever feel too obligated that now the decision that was once good have become harmful for you now. Don't ever get comfortable becoming a helpless dog in a sense. Take an interest in each other's activities. First of all, there should be, separate activities. But take an interest. Don't be, I'm a movie buff. Listen, I can watch movies all day. And whether they're good movies or not, I'm still a movie buff. But take an interest and your mates, whether we're going to be in 46-degree cold weather watching the Eagles together, or watching a basketball game, or watching a hopeless love romantic movie that he probably don't really want to see. Whatever it is, take a genuine interest. You don't have to do it all the time, but it at least allow the other person to know that I'm genuinely interested in you. I'm genuinely interested to know what books you read, what's on your mind. Take a genuine interest in the person that you're with. Trust each other and be honest with each other. That's pretty much a no-brainer. And there's so much. Oh, I love this one. Take care of yourself and have good self-esteem. It's nobody's job to make you happy. No, that's your job. If someone comes alongside of you, that's just a bonus. But the happiness is already within you. That's already something that's already there. Whether a man or a woman is in your life, you're already happy. And see, happiness, that's a whole nother topic. But what I've learned about happiness is you have to be happy with yourself. That's where a lot of it comes from. If you're not happy with yourself, thank you, Tyrone. If you're not happy with yourself, you're going to find 101 ways to just be an unhappy, miserable person. And then the person who's in your life, you're going to make them crazy and miserable too. So you have to be happy. You have the right to be happy. You have the privilege, the opportunity to be happy. And happiness isn't always contingent upon what you're wearing, what you're driving, and things like that. Like, you have to find that self-happiness. When I wake up, whether my hair is done or my makeup is on or whatever, like, I'm still happy with who I am today. Years ago, I couldn't say that. But I am happy with who I am. And I want you to be happy with who you are too. If it's something you like or something you don't like, you have the power to change a thing. Chris, you want to say something?
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah.
Not being happy with myself, pursuing this career and pursuing life.
Mm-hmm.
But, finding who I am most of all, and allowing the Creator Most High and ancestors and angels to really just touch my life. And
yes.
Counseling and talking to people has definitely been a blessing, to talk to people.
Amen. And I love it. If you couldn't hear Chris basically was just saying how he had to take the initiatives, like the steps necessary to become happy. Even if that meant counseling. I have nothing wrong with counseling. Sometimes you need someone who's a neutral party, who's not biased. Hey, Cass, how are you? Sometimes you need a neutral party who's not biased to just hear you out. So, but at the end of the day, your happiness is what matters the most. You have to be happy. You have to be happy. And you can't have someone in your life that's not making you happy. I'm not talking about moments of unhappiness. I'm talking about a consistent scale of that person just draining you, just making you worse. Anytime you end up worse than what you came in, that's a huge red flag. That's a huge, huge red flag. So, as we're sitting here talking about bad relationships, I'm giving you guys some cues as to what's a good, healthy relationship. And by no means, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. But my job and my genuine concern for you guys is to try to figure it out together at least. You know what I mean? You guys may have some advice for me, and I'm open for anything that will help me be a better person. So I hope that you guys are receptive as well to that. It says, maintain relationship with friends and family. There are so many people who get into these relationships, and the man or the woman is insecure when he goes to his parents' house or hanging with his friends and things like that. You have to be able to be who you are and who you were before you met that person. That person shouldn't have too much control over your life. Whereas though now, you don't visit your mom and dad anymore. You don't hang out with your friends. You need that balance. That is so healthy. You need the balance. You need to go, if you need to go shoot pool, have a drink with the fellas, or go play cards with or have a petty manny party with your girlfriends without him always texting you. You need that. You absolutely need that. You absolutely need that. It says, have activities and hobbies apart from one another. Give them the chance to miss you. A healthy relationship is a secure relationship. If it's nothing that you get out of here for tonight's message, a healthy relationship is a secure relationship. Be secure with who you are. And if that person is not secure with who you are, then that's a problem there. And most times the problem isn't you. People come in with pre-existing baggage. So it's not your job to fix them. It's not your job to sometimes, have to be the one they dump all that on. So that's why it's important to take your time when you're getting to know somebody to know if this is what you even want to deal with. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the only one who's going to be unhappy is you. And you're going to feel like time was wasted. And Lord forbid, if there's a child involved, you guys have a child or something like that, it's going to be a little bit more than just time wasted, Now we're talking about a life that's on the line, I'll say. And here it says, have the option of privacy. Now, all right. There's a lot of women that, and not just women, sometimes, all right, as this new generation, we get into this whole phone situation. She know your code or he knows your code to the phone. And sometimes, most times, if not all the time, it creates additional insecurities. Sometimes it could be a harmless text message or message that's taken the wrong way. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's something that you guys want to continue in your relationship, but you certainly need to have privacy. Privacy should be a must. And, I was guilty of that. I was always, in somebody's phone, in somebody's phone years ago. But again, when you start to become secure with who you are, and that person, and ladies, I understand sometimes men do things that will make you feel like you have to check up on them. I understand that. But there's a balance. If you feel like you got to do that all the time, that person is not the one. That person's probably not the one for you. And especially if you continuously find things, not just women, men too. If you always, and your girlfriend's on her laptop or on her phone or something, and she got all these friends and new cousins and whoever else, and it makes you feel insecure, then y'all need to communicate about that. But sometimes you'll meet people in your life that will make you feel completely like as if they don't have any respect or regard for you in that relationship. So that's why, like I said, it's important. Sometimes you can meet someone who's used to just being disrespectful, and they make you feel like you have to tolerate it, or you're the crazy one for calling them out on it. So, again, that's where that whole getting to know each other part is important. It says, resolve conflict fairly. Fighting is part of a healthy relationship. However, the difference is the conflict is handled. Fight fairly. Stop being controlling and manipulative. So sometimes, in communication, there'll be fights. Okay, nobody's relationship is important. But however, be careful for the constant controlling and the manipulation and things like that, If every time you out with your friends, he blowing you up 100 times because where you at, what you doing, why you ain't answer your phone, I just called you. Like, all right, you just called me 1 second before you just called this phone. Like, whatever it is, I'm not sure how your relationship goes, but those are some of the stories I heard and or witnessed. At the end of the day, we're all getting too old for this. We're getting too old to end up in the same relationships, the same type of pattern, the same relationship habits, good or bad, and not doing something about it. So we're coming to a close here on the BFF Show. We had a good show tonight because at the end of the day, as I get to be able to talk to you guys about things that are important to me, and yeah, you are young, Mr. James. Whatever it may be, at the end of the day, I want you guys to be happy. I want you guys to continue. If you know you're stubborn, if you know you have insecurity issues, work on those things. If you know you're prideful, if you know you're a prideful individual, work on those things before you get into a relationship with somebody else. Because at the end of the day, you're going to drive somebody else crazy, and ultimately you'll be back where you started. I've been married twice. I always tell you guys. I try to keep it real with you guys. I've been married twice, and I learned a lot, but mostly about myself. You know, anytime when you spend a lot of time bashing the other person, oh, that person did this, he said this, and she did this, that means you're not giving adequate enough time and energy on what did you do. How could you have changed the situation, your approach, your attitude, your delivery, you know? At the end of the day, I always say you can't control what other people do, but you can control what you do. And let's not spend so much time trying to find the right person. Instead, let's be the right person. I love you guys. I hope you enjoy your weekend. The BFF show have been picked up for TV. I'm so excited about that. If there's any up-and-coming artists that have good music, feel free to hit me up. Or if you have any gift or talent that you would like to, you know, display, hit me up. If you're doing anything and you want to be a part of some of the outreaches that we do, feel free to hit me up. I love you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.